Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to present our research towards this conference, namely Iccomset 2021 and held by UNTAS. My name is Pietra, and I'm a business law student from BINUS University, and alongside my lecturer, Dr. Muhammad Reza Syariffudin Zaki, we conduct a research that entitled The Virtual Tourism During COVID-19 Pandemic Based on International Law. Therefore, we would like to share our so-called research to this conference. Enjoy. First of all, we would like to give some introductions towards our research that basically saying that the virtual tourism can be managed during this pandemic. The tourism industry has hit narrowing to the COVID-19 pandemic. It will continue to feel the effects for at least first 3 quarters of 2021. According to a recent UN report, tourist arrivals globally in January 2021 were down almost 87% when compared to January 2020. Travel will prevail over post-pandemic anxiety, making it incumbent on the aviation and tourism industry to build safer infrastructure and practice that take care of travelers' well-being. After a year thwarted by the pandemic and with the future not looking so good and too upbeat for the industry at the juncture, tourism business owners should look at an alternative modes of an interactions for holiday takers that can be also aid the people and economies who depends on the tourism itself. The COVID-19 pandemic has noticeably hastened the testing and rollout of forward-looking technologies. Technology has not only enabled citizens globally to interact to each other and more often to work remotely. In the last few decades, has helped travel and tourism industries to increase their reach through travel booking websites, videos, blogs, and travel photography. That because of that base, we were very confident that the virtual tourism will grow, especially during this pandemic. Moving on, we would like to explain the role of the technology itself through the mechanism of the virtual tourism itself. In this case, a human-centric design that draws insights from cognitive behavior, social psychology, neuroscience, and behavioral economics applied with cutting-edge technologies such as augmented virtual or mixed reality, and abbreviated AR, VR on MR. Those things, AR, VR, MR, can enable a seamless, uninterrupted interactive experience for viewers from their fictional digital user experience and construct a positive perceptions of a tourist destinations. With this technology that keep improving and lives globally, virtual tourism could reignite the tourism economic model. As a human-centric platform, it can establish local tourist guides, artisans, and others as a global citizens with the tourism industry itself, and also become a game changer. Now, moving on to the WTO's or the World Trade Organization's main theme, because mainly we're talking about tourism, it's basically regulated internationally by the World Trade Organizations. World Trade Organization's main team has conducted some sort of a research that branding about Trade 2030. Before we get into these sections, we need to highlight these numbers, ladies and gentlemen. By 2030, international tourist arrivals were expected to reach 3.3% per year to reach about 1.8 billion tourists by the year of 2030. And then, if we're talking about the market shares of emerging economics by the year of 2030, the numbers will increase in about 57% or equivalent to over 1 billion. Well, why is the role of technology in the realm of tourism is very crucial in the first place, ladies and gentlemen, because technological development is significantly ins- inspiring many fields and commercial sectors within the COVID-19 outbreak. Supply chain processes and restructuring, while medical and manufacturing sectors also handling the situations with the advancements in the procedures with which use the technology itself. In this case, virtual world models within regards to the socio-political, technological, and ethical aspects, and to evaluate the degree of the contributions made these emerging models to the body of the knowledge. And under this main theme by the WTO's main theme of Trade 2030, the WTO's public forum sub-themes for 2018 are sustainable trade, technology-enabled trade, and more inclusive trading system. Projections extending the 2030s indicate that the tourism sector is expecting continued rapid growth as the number that I already explained recently. And now we're moving on to the concept of virtual tourism itself. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the virtual tourism was initiated because of the virtualizations or digitalizations at this time has developed into a very effective new technology and culture. This digitalization culture has penetrated human habits, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. With the digitalization culture, it can be said that virtual tourism can be the answer to overcome this problem. Virtual tourism itself is a simulation of a certain tourist attractions compiled from a series of videos through technology that makes it seem as if tourists was present within person of the tourism subjects. With virtual tourism, tourists stay at home physically but can get a vacation experience using the technology. These virtual tourisms can look very real because the simulations is arranged from the sequence of videos and images accompanied by text explanation, guides, and audio assistant so as to make the place more real. The mechanism that can be offered is the tourist will gain such experience with the help of a virtual reality device. Or, if it seems very complicated, the tourist can just purchase a series of videos within an attachment of a tour guide as well. Through this mechanism, we believe that we can expand the technology as well as reducing the number of the COVID-19 that affected. One example of the virtual tourism that was implemented before the COVID-19 pandemic was in 2019. The party that implemented this virtual tourism is the Louvre Museum in France, in collaboration with the HTC Five Arts as a company that engaged in the preservation of cultural heritage with digital innovations and created some sort of virtual reality where the art commissioners can enjoy the artworks on display at the event was held. And this event also to commemorate the 500th anniversary of the death of the Leonardo da Vinci. Moving on to the legal basis of the virtual tourism itself. Now, because we all know when we looking at the advanced technology, we also need a legal basis that regulate the technology itself. Because of the advanced technology, there are also other stakeholders who also play a very crucial role in this development, namely the tourists themselves and also the private sector. Their involvement is very important in the realm of virtual tourism. Therefore, we need some sort of law and a legal basis that protects them. In international law, there are several legal bases that can be used as a benchmark. Mainly, there are three regulations. The first of all is General Agreement on Trade in Services, or GATS. And second, the Agreement on Trade-Related Aspects of International Intellectual Property Rights, TRIPS, and the General Data Protection Regulations, or GDPR. First of all, GATS serves to protect aspects of providing virtual tourism services, while TRIPS serve to protect the intellectual property aspects of the tourist attractions along with the personal data from tourists. And the GDPR protects the data privacy of the tourist itself. Based on Article 1, Paragraph 2 of GATS, there are four modes of supplies in international service trade, namely cross-border supply, consumptions abroad, commercial presence, and presence of a natural person. WTO member states can liberalize services if they have submitted a schedule of commitment and specific commitment to the WTO. Tourism is one of the services liberalized by the WTO out of the total of 12 services. Commitments have been undertaken by over 133 WTO members, more than in any other service sector. This indicates the desire of most members to expand their tourism sectors and to increase the inward foreign direct investment or FDI as part of their efforts to promote economic growth. Meanwhile, in the second legal basis about in TRIPS agreement, there are two things that regulate the virtual tourism. There are copyright, which is governed in Article 9 until 14, and patent, which governed in Article 27 until 34. Videos that watched by tourists get copyright protections as stipulated in the TRIPS agreement. Meanwhile, the virtual tourism technology gets patent protections because there is novelty in terms of the technology itself. These are protected by moral, economic, and legal rights to avoid the disputes over intellectual property rights in the future. Furthermore, the last legal basis in terms of data protections for tourists is actually regulated by the General Data Protection Regulations or GDPR. GDPR is a multilateral agreement, and according to Chapter 3 of the GDPR, Sections 2 and Article 13 until Article 15, that regulates about the informations and access to personal data. Besides that, in Chapter 5, Article 44 until 50, regulates about the transfer of personal data to third countries or international organizations. The GDPR's primary aim is to give the individuals control over their personal data and to simplify the regulatory environment for international businesses. The GDPR was adopted on 14 April 2016 and became enforceable in the beginning of 2018, May. As the GDPR is a regulations, not directive, it is directly binding and applicable, but does provide flexibility for certain aspects of the regulations to be adjusted by the individual members of the states itself. So in conclusion, these three legal bases will provide some sort of legal protections of the mechanism of the virtual tourism. And then the last part is conclusions. Well, ladies and gentlemen, these pandemic conditions will change the way tourists travel in the future. And in order to respond to changes in digitalizations in the world of tourism, legal world certainly is needed that can protect the interests of the companies and tourists who use virtual tourism services. In the tourism industry, virtual tourism literature contributes to the destination's development. Their involvement is very important in the realm of virtual tourism. Therefore, there will be needs of the law that protects them. In international law, there are several legal bases that I already stated before, mainly GATS, TRIPS, and GDPR. And alongside with the help of the government and the private sector, we believe and we also confident that virtual tourism will become something very big and will help a lot of sectors during and even post-pandemic. I think that is all that I can serve as our presentations. Thank you very much for the time and the opportunity. I apologize if there any word that is mistaken, and I want to say thank you as well to the committee of Iccomset 2021 and UNTAS. Therefore, I'm Pietra and alongside my lecturer, Dr. Muhammad Reza Syariffudin Zaki, signing out, and thank you very much.